Hello, welcome to my channel, The Sword Rules. My name is Dean. Tonight I thought I'd just take some video of my 3D printing, give you a quick explanation of what it is and how you do it, and then I will also try and show you some of my creations. Right now I'm pretty much using all of the available print bed on these, making an organizer for my wife for in one of her bathroom drawers. So I'll get to filming some other stuff here in the next couple days and piece it all together, and hopefully in the end it'll all make sense to you. The 3D printer here is getting ready to do and completing the calibration cycle. So the first thing that it does before it actually starts the print. So there's what's called a Super Pinda probe underneath there, and it's going across the forming bed, we call them. It's a metallic sheet with a coating on it, and it's checking the distance between the nozzle and the metal bed, and then it will know exactly where to adjust itself for high and low areas. So what's happening right now is it's extruding a line on the edge outside of the printing area just to kind of purge the head and the nozzle, and then it starts its print. And we are printing something called soldering fingers, and I'll show you them on the screen of the computer here in a minute. What's happening now is it's laying down a purge border around it, and during that time you can get down there and check and make sure that it's laying down the filament correctly. And now the print has started printing, the printer has started printing the base of what I've asked it to print via G-code, it's called, and it's similar to the code that's used on in the machining world, on automated lathes and laser cutters, that kind of thing, CNC machines, and it's transferred over. For right now I'm transferring it over using this USB stick. I can also run a network cable. We'll see if this shows up on the screen. I'm not sure if it's going to catch that focus or not, but as you can see, it shows that it's printing. It's showing what it's printing, how much of it is done, 1%, how much of the printing time, how much the printing time is for this model. It's quite lengthy. It's 2 hours and 11 minutes total, and it's 4 minutes in right now. Some prints can go 24 hours, 36 hours. It just depends on how large and how the speed that you're printing at. I can tune it or pause it or stop it mid-print, and then this shows the extruder temperature is 220, and the bed, forming bed temperature is 62, and that's listed in Celsius, of course. This shows the layer height that's going on right now. That's a 0.25 approximate layer height, but it does fluctuate according to the bed level test that it just did a little while ago, and it's running at 100% speed. If I find that it needs a slight adjustment in quality, I can also turn that down manually, and these printers generally print better when they print slower. This printer is called a Prusa Mini, and it was my second printer that I acquired. So I now officially have a printer farm, although it's a pretty small farm with only 2 printers going. This other printer, this was the first printer that I bought. I bought this one as a kit and put it together, and that way that's a good way to learn how 3D printing works is if you put your own printer together. This does, it's a little bit bigger printer, a little bit bigger bed on it, and it's a little bit more accurate. Of course, it's just a slightly larger and more robust machine. I haven't had a chance to name this printer yet officially, so right now I'm just calling it Mini. I have named this one, as you can see, it's called, with the help of a neighbor, my neighbor Jen came up with that name, the artist formerly known as Prince. That's pretty good, I like that one. There are many different things that I can 3D print. Like I said, this model that I'm doing right now is something that I need for my other hobby, which is the RC truck stuff that I do. And you can see those up here also. I do a lot of soldering of wires, joints, and the wires are quite small. And what I decided to do was to build a soldering tool. And let me zoom in on this a little bit. This is the soldering tool, and it is a file that I downloaded off the internet. I can bring that up next. That's right here. So you can see what it's going to look like when it's done. And this is how it holds various sizes of wires, or multiple wires if you need to solder 2 or 3 of them at a time. So I think it's going to be a pretty handy little tool to have. Right now I have a little vise that I can clamp the wires in, but sometimes it gets hard to use. So what you would do then is, once you chose a model that you wanted to print, or you have finished designing the print, which I can do also, what you end up with is a .stl file, and that is the file that you use to pull into the slicer, which does exactly what it sounds like. It slices this model into many, many, many layers back and forth, and that 3D printer is going to run around and keep putting layer on top of layer until it has built the model up to be finished. So I would download this file, and then I open it in, this is called Prusa Slicer. There's a bunch of different slicers available. I like using the original Prusa brand. Prusa is a very high quality 3D printer. The applications are high quality. It's all open sourced, and it's super easy to use. So I can show you the raw model. It's right here. You pull in the STL file. It looks like this. Then you're going to make your own adjustments according to what kind of quality setting you want. There's finer layers that you can create. Those finer layers will give you a better quality, better looking print, not necessarily stronger or not necessarily more robust in any way, but they do, like an ultra detail would give you very, very fine details in sort of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the resolution of a picture, right? So I am using a 0.20 millimeter quality for the Mini. It's a profile that I have preset, and it seems to work good as an all-around good layer height. This filament profile is pulled in here. This is for my textured plate that I'm using. Then this is the first layer. 62 is the first layer temperature for the bed. 61 thereafter. You can probably hear the fan just started up on that 3D printer, so it's going to get a little bit loud. And then the 220 is the nozzle temperature. And of course, I saved this one on February 18th of this year. I keep updating my software that way and keep my profiles up to date. Then this is the printer that I'm using, and I have a 4.5 millimeter retraction going on for when it changes layers or has to stop printing and move the head. I have 15% of infill. I'll show you that in a little bit. And these are all the coordinates for sizing, percentage of size, how big the actual model is. Right now I have it set to inches, but I can set that to millimeters also. And then it gives you some other information for like how much filament it's going to use and how long it's going to print. So this one is about 2 hours 14 minutes. And if I go over to the sliced file, I'm going to pull down this arrow here, and it's going to show you all the different layers that happen as this print is done. When I pull this slider over, it'll actually show you the direction of the print head and how it moves around the object. I'm trying to go as slow as I can here, but it's got a lot of movements to make. That's how it lays down the layers of plastic, one layer at a time. And when it's all done, I was going to show you the infill. This would be the infill. I have it set at about 15%. That's overall good for good support and good strength. That does help you save on plastic. This doesn't have to be all solid in here, so we kind of just fill it in with some infill. This is a print I started about an hour ago on my Prusa Mark III. It's going to be a 3-color print, and I'll take another short clip at each color change. I just wanted to give everyone a chance to see a multi-color print coming off of one of these printers. This is the color change portion of this video. It just takes a minute or two, and I'll show you this as I change color from black to yellow. So first I'm going to eject the black filament. A little string hanging out here. Pull that out. There are a few little steps that you have to do as a manual color change. There is equipment that you can get for these printers that would allow you to do automated color changes. It's multi-material units, and I plan on getting one of those someday, but there's a lot that goes into that, and I don't really feel like I'm ready for that yet. So I'm going to tell it that the filament unload was successful, and then it's asking me to insert the next color, so I have it ready right here. It's important not to move the head or the table right now because it will lose its place. So I just push it in, press the knob, and it will start purging the new color through the print nozzle. It's going to ask me, it's going to beep and ask me, and I'm going to tell it, no, the color is not correct yet. So then it's going to keep pushing some more filament out. You have to kind of keep it out of the way so that it doesn't get caught up on the nozzle. And I'll do this probably 3 or 4 times, and I shouldn't really have to do it too much normally, but I'm going from a fairly dark color, black, to a fairly light color in yellow, and it does take a few tries to really get that bright yellow to come out of there. Normally I'd only do this twice, maybe 3 times, but like I said, it's when you're going from dark to light, it can be a little harder. So now on this next one, I'm going to start getting this filament out of the way because I have to kind of pull it a little bit as it goes back to the print so that it doesn't drag any of the filament over the print. Alright, so now I'm going to tell it that the color change was successful, and it will move on to the print. It spits out a little bit, and then I keep a handle on it until it touches the print and pull off all the waste, and then that way nothing drags on the print or gets stuck to it accidentally. So now we've moved on to the yellow portion of it, and I will do another quick video when I finish the last color change. Okay, here we go with the final color. So I'm going to start printing that last color of white right now. I've pulled the waste out of the way. You can see the transition from yellow to white. And in 18 minutes this print will be done. I'll give you a quick view of it before I shut the camera off, and starting to come together. Now you can kind of see what I'm printing, and when it's completely done I'll do a quick video here also. So the print is just finished, and it's still got some fuzzy stuff around the top, but I'm going to give you a little better view of it. So probably have to send this off to a friend of mine. Looks like it turned out pretty good. That's what a 3-color, or I should say multiple color print looks like. It's just done at different levels. When the layers get up high enough, the printer is told to stop, change out the filament, and it lays another color down until it builds up to another level, and then you put in your 3rd color, 4th color, 5th, however many you want to do. Here's some other small tool carrier parts that I built. This holds all of my hex bits for my DeWalt driver. It's another good tool for the hobbies that I have, and this works out really good. Keep them all out in the open, keep them organized. There's an RC tool that I built. It's just for hanging shocks and keeping them organized. This is front right, front left, etc. And that way I can keep them adjusted, forefront or back, and get them back in the same spot when I need to. And this was a kind of a fun little deal. It's going to be an engine. It's going to be a solenoid cover, a servo cover. I'm sorry. So on one of my Vanquish machines here, and this was not designed by me. This was designed by someone else. I printed it out, did a little post work on it, painted it up, smoothed a couple things, and then it will eventually fit down into here. I have to do some more fitting on this back piece back here, but it'll eventually fit down into there, and you'll be able to actually see the turbos through the grill on the front of the truck when it's done. Make it look like it's got a big old Hemi in it, turbocharged. This little setup here was my winter project for the winter of 21-22. First started with this Bronco. There are some 3D printed parts in here. I wanted to build a replica of the Bronco that my wife has on order. I'll open this up so you can see the various printed parts. There's just a few in here. One of them is this Element independent front suspension setup. Normally these axial raw builder's kits for the chassis, normally they would have a straight axle up front, but this one needed to have the independent front suspension because the Broncos actually don't have a straight axle up front. So just making it more scale and realistic with independent front suspension. This part of the chassis then also was 3D printed, and in back here you can see There's a hinge in there. Sorry if the lighting isn't too great. I'm down in my basement with this spread out on a table. But you can see that red hinge in there flexes. This body is not, this Bronco body is not really and truly made for this axial chassis. This is two different manufacturers. So I had to do a couple things to make the body fit on here. One of them was design and print that 3D hinge back there. And then also I had to paint it, of course, because it came in a yellow. I had a lot of trimming to do around the fenders and the running boards. I also had to, I'll have to open this back up again. Normally the wheelbase is different on this chassis, so I had to adjust that wheelbase quite a bit to make that fit inside the fenders. Moving back to the trailer, nearly all of this overland camping trailer was 3D printed. We'll start up at the front here. The hitch mount actually is a metal scale hitch that I bought. I did print the 3D print the receiver back there, and then that's just a ball swivel that I screwed into the hitch receiver, and it looks like it looks like a hitch ball normally. Everything that you see up here is 3D printed except for this shovel and axe set. That is a molded plastic part that I painted. This is a metal, true working, I'll get over here so you can get a better look at it. That is actually a working high lift jack, just like a lot of overlanders would carry. That is, of course, from the High Lift Corporation. The frame, fenders, wheel chocks, this whole cabin section was printed. The lights and the lenses. The lenses are a clear plastic, and I tinted these here yellow, and then the ones in the back here on the bumper, I tinted those red and put white LEDs behind them. Give you a kind of a look at the chassis underneath. The axle and the hubs and the springs, everything underneath there is 3D printed. I had to do a little custom work on the camper. This is an STL file that I got from Thingiverse. Someone else designed this. However, it wasn't exactly to my liking. All of this was solid plastic in here, so, and of course it had no doors, opening doors on it. So I redesigned that to cut off the doors. I made the window openings empty, and then created my own tinted window glass for inside and on the doors. And I have some magnets mounted up there that hold it shut. Inside you can see a little bit of the wiring in there that's involved. There's some bed rolls in there and some extra wood and some other things that you would need on a little camping trip. All of the wiring comes together in this chest here, and there's also a switch inside of there that I use to turn on and off the auxiliary LED lamps in the back. Those are also bought metal LED lamps. They're based on the Baja Designs light. These traction boards are printed, and then this was a kit to put this bungee system together. These were the chocks, which fit up here. They store up here. Those were separate, and you would normally have to bolt those onto the fender, but I redesigned the fenders and the chocks to be integrated and put them all into one spot. We have a supplies chest. This waterproof container would normally fit up here when the trailer's on the move. A lot of things fit inside the trailer, a lot of things go on top of the trailer. I just printed out a little platform here to kind of look like a campsite. These are actually just gray stones, not real stones. These are also 3D printed, but I gave them a little bit of a wash. This is meant to look like it's on the edge of a lake or a river. This is a Coleman stove here, as you can see. Coleman logo with a bottle of LP, a couple of frying pans. All of those pieces in there, they're all individual. These are about 2 millimeters wide, the bacon strips, and these are about 4 millimeter wide eggs, sunny side up, by the way. Quite a challenge to print stuff that small, I have to tell you. We've got a couple of folding chairs. These do actually fold up so that they store away nice inside the trailer. Some more firewood. I have some beer bottles here. Whoops, get that back out here. Some beer bottles with silver caps on them. They fit inside this Coleman cooler cover very nicely. And that it also has the Coleman logo on it there. Front, and there are actual 3D printed ice cubes also inside there. That was not fun. Those are about 2 millimeter by 3 millimeter ice cubes, and there's hundreds of them in there. This is actually an LED tea light that I kind of dismantled and printed some rocks to go around it in a ring. And so you can see the tea light is down in there burning. It normally would be white, but I tinted that kind of red and orange in there to make it look more like a fire. It does flicker a little bit, but it's not all that great. And then of course glued the wood in place. You can just turn it on and off on the bottom whenever you want it off. So this was just done for fun. This was just a project that I wanted to do over the winter. Wisconsin winters can be kind of long here and boring, and it took me pretty much all winter. I was at it probably from early November until near the end of February, working on this. But it was a labor of love and something that I just wanted to do. We all know about the delays on the Broncos. My wife was upset that she hadn't yet received her Bronco. It's been a year since we ordered, so I thought, well, maybe if I make her a radio-controlled model, that'll help her get by for a little while. So this is actually something that I built for my wife to play around with. So anyway, just some really good examples of what I do with my 3D printer. I do make some parts for RC models such as the Bronco, and I have them listed for sale in various places. Some custom design hitches and hinges, as you saw inside there. Just little doodads like that people need, but they don't actually have their own 3D printers. So there you go. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments below.